AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Welcome to the Overcomers Overcoming podcast series, where we profile those who are overcoming and those who have overcome various life topics. I am Ron Cooper, along with my wife and business partner, Marty, of the Cooper Culture, who is sponsoring this series. Many people who have overcome life events have inspired me to produce this series. We want you to know you are not alone in whatever you're experiencing. Life has taught me that everyone has a story that someone needs to hear. Join us as we profile those who choose to be a lifestyle chainbreaker. Let's engage their story to inspire us and others within our circle of influence. Welcome back to episode 2 of our Overcomers Overcoming podcast series. Coach, you've got an intriguing story. We left off last time with you at the family table. I'm going to use that description somewhat generically, but you and your family were at a critical decision point that after having reviewed and summarized and just reflected on the past, you're saying we cannot continue in this, what's happening. And so, did I characterize that correctly, Coach?
Yes, you did.
Marty, you had a thought or a question?
I have a question. Coach, I'm going to take you back to when the church member, Mr. Piles, decided to take you under his wing. Did you feel comfortable, or did you ever talk to him about what was going on in the house?
No, I didn't, because I distinctly remember shortly before him asking me to do that, that there was a meeting at our house where he was sitting at the table with other men and trying to mentor and pour in to my father and hold him accountable. So he was fully aware of what was going on. And then, of course, at the same time, I'm almost positive my mom and the ladies of these men, so they're all friends, family friends, they were out somewhere else. And so I'm sure that any story that he was not able to learn at that table was backed up by story that he received from his wife and the interpretation or the experience that my mom was able to relay to her.
I'm thinking about someone listening, a young boy listening, that doesn't have family members that are involved. It's just him and he knows something's going on. Would you recommend that he have the freedom, if someone comes along and says, I'm going to take you under my wing, I'm going to help you, because, not saying that to him, but would you say it's okay, guys, because guys just don't like to share.
Right.
It would be okay for you to sit down with that person that you've learned to trust,
right,
and talk to him about your situation.
It's no question. I mean, I am positive at some point or another I had conversations with Mr. Boss, but I think that the environment that he was able to create through things that I enjoyed gave me a separation from that toxic environment that I was in, and it was almost like an escape. And so by doing that, I think he saw me, my spirits, and my whole demeanor shift and change while being out there on that practice field during the game field. And so I think that when we were able to have conversations in the car, or prior to games or after games, I'm sure that the conversations were able to come up, but I felt much stronger to speak about them because there was balance now. It wasn't me living an entire life of negativity and just holding on and trying to focus on other things to do. I actually had something positive that was going on in my life that I was doing, and so that was balancing out some of the negativity that was going on. And so for me to share it, I don't think that I just showed up to practice and shared. I think that in that environment where I was able to develop a more positive outlook on life, I got comfortable enough to share things in a productive manner. Because now my outlook, as we talk about in this whole podcast about being overcomers, when you develop some positivity in your life, you have accomplished something, especially when you're living in a rancid and toxic and negative situation. So when positivity is now interjected into your life, it gives you another level of confidence, another level of energy that allows you possibly to feel like you can conquer some of the issues that are causing negativity in your life. So I am positive that at some point then, through maybe Mr. Piles, asked me how I was doing, or something else, that I shared with him, what was going on and spoke to him. But I was speaking to him a different way. Because I think what he did was, and this to me is biblical, he did not wait for me to tell him what I needed. He saw a need and he gave it to me. And so by feeding my spirit with one thing, gave me the strength to take care of others. He didn't have a direct solution to take care of what was going on in my home. He tried. I mean, he was mentoring my father just like anybody else would. But he didn't have that ability to change that. But what he could do is pour into me, give me enough confidence, enough positivity in my life that would help steer me in a more positive direction. And then I think from that, there was definitely some conversations that happened.
So, Coach, what I'm discerning is you were perhaps starting to see some amount of positive in a bad situation. But now take us to the table where your grandfather, Wilson Sneade, and was Tim Piles a part of this, or was this just
No, it
family?
is just true family.
Okay, so your mom is with you, and just say we've got to make a decision that Rick, you're really being hurt from all of this.
Yeah, well, the whole family is, and we've got to do something about it. And at this point, the listeners here have to understand that I've already spoken about my respect and my love and admiration for my grandfather. There is more background to this, where him and I have even cultivated a deeper and more sincere understanding of each other. And that happened shortly in the same time frame that I started coaching. I'm going into I believe it's my junior year of football. And it's during the summer, and my family comes to me and asks me to help my grandfather build this house that they're building. So he's building it, and basically I was just going to be a layman working on the site and helping out so that my grandfather doesn't overexert himself. And I'm doing all this, and I'm learning a lot about the trade. My grandfather's very handy, and I'm doing things. And I remember going to our pastors of this church that we're talking about here, Friendship Community Baptist Church, going to my pastor's son, a friend of mine's birthday party. And I remember leaving the job site to go home and get ready to go to this. And Grandpa was sitting on a stump on the property, again, down by Breezy Point. And I asked him if it was okay for me to leave. And he said, yeah, it's good. I'm just going to sit here and rest. Just a little tired today. And so I left, and I got a phone call at the birthday party that Grandpa had suffered a heart attack, and he's in the hospital. And it broke me. Because the responsibility that I had during that summer was to relinquish any type of exertion from my grandfather and take that responsibility on so he wouldn't have to go through anything like that. And I mean, I failed. In my mind, I failed. I wouldn't go to the hospital. I wouldn't see him. My family did not understand sports. No one played sports. Everybody went to school, went to work. We did that. Sports didn't have a value because didn't do anything. I mean, anything that they could have learned in sports, they learned from working hard with their hands. But I love football. I loved coaching. And I was at the job site the next day before sun came up, and I was there after the sun went down, and I was working every day. And I was trying to make up for where I thought I screwed up, where I failed. And I wasn't going to play football. And that got back to my grandfather. And they're like, because he had to have bypass surgery, and they were like, Grandpa wants to see you in the hospital, you need to come. And, he talked me off the ledge from playing sports, and then he also told me how proud he was. And that was huge. Because here is my grandfather not my dad, telling me how much my effort and energy and love to him meant to him. And it was a huge moment. And so now that same gentleman, several years later, sitting at my family room table, as you said, more of a symbol, right? The family table. And my uncle, my aunts, my mom, and they're like, something's got to be done. If you don't do something, if you don't take control of this house, you'll end up moving on, and your mom's going to be left with this on her own. And she's not going to be able to get out. And I'm like, look, I'm going to school to be an architect. I'm going to do this. I'm doing that. I said, if you could give me 2 years, I'll be well on my way, and I'll be more financially able to take care of things. And they're like, well, Rick, you got to do something. And I said, what can I do? I said, I'm coaching, I'm working, and I'm going to college. I'm like, well, you might have to give up coaching. And that, I'm not giving up coaching. And I started to dig in a little bit. I was being very resistant at this point. I was a little bitter because, why am I dealing with this circumstance? This had nothing to do with me. I love my mom, but she brought me back in the house. Why am I having to deal with this nonsense? My sisters have moved on to doing their thing. Why me? I mean, I was 20 years old. The me thing, right? And so I started to dig in more. I was like, okay. I said, but I'll just stop going to school. But I'm not going to give up coaching. And at the time, I didn't understand why I didn't want to give up coaching. For them, for others, it might have been, I'm just addicted to coaching. But really, it was my therapy. It was my escape. And so, father comes back in the picture, lay it on him. And at that point, I think I already made up my mind, my heart, what had to be done. And so gave him an ultimatum. Like, look, if you don't love us enough to get yourselves right, then you can't be in this family anymore. And a month came by, and something happened, and I don't know if it was small, medium, large, or whatever, but it triggered me, and I lost it. And I in a passionate rage, let out every single piece of emotion, scared everybody in the house half to death, and I literally, grabbed them by the chest and drug them down the stairs and told them, you got to throw them out the front door. And, because in my mind, you didn't love me or this family enough to get yourself corrected. We're done. And I was not mad. I was not hating on him. What I was doing was I only had so much energy to give, and I wasn't going to waste it on a dead end. And now my mom, my sisters needed me. I needed myself. I was going to focus my energy in an area that could actually get better. So that's where we moved to. During that time, he's gone. During that time, my a long childhood friend of mine through middle school and high school. She was a school athletic trainer. She was a good friend of mine. She was a class president. I was a class vice president. So we went through graduation together, stuff together. She went to East Carolina. She's coming back home, and we're playing the 5-year reunion. And she's always been a very sweet friend of mine. And I guess she fell in love with the young man who's doing all these things for mama and doing all these things for everything else and doing all the right things. She's moved on to bigger things. She's graduated from college. The next good thing you do is you find a good woman, you find a good man, you get married, and here I am looking like the hero trying to take care of my family and save the day. And so we quickly spawned a relationship. And the irony is that after that situation went down when I was 22, my plan, along with a friend, was to go into the Marine Corps. And we put that on hold. So that summer, I worked 3 jobs as a lifeguard. I worked with companies coming out of Annapolis doing some catering, and I was working as a manager, as I said, UPS. And the following summer, so her and I hit it off. We go to a prom together, a chaperone prom at Northern. We hit it off, and literally at the same time that we hit it off and we become an item, so to speak, I'm preparing to go to boot camp. So it's a year later. This is in the spring of 1998, and everything's starting to fall into place. I'm etched because at this point I'm looking at a possible opportunity to get a job in the school system. Because here, full circle, right? I was going to be an architect because I could draw, had a little bit of good math background, and I wanted to make good money, coach, and then not have to worry about anything financially ever again. But mom, being mom and knowing me better than anybody else, is like, look, you're so good at coaching, you relate well to people, you should be a teacher. And of course, all I could think in my head was, you guys have financially struggled your entire lives. I'm not going to make enough money to be able to survive as a teacher. Here I am, meet this woman. We get reacquainted. I'm coaching, going to Marine Corps, find out that I want to get into teaching. Boom, all this stuff's starting to happen. And did not get a job at the high school, Northern at the time. Came back, the job I thought I was going to get, didn't get. So I'm still doing what I'm doing. And then the following year, I go away for training. Our relationship's getting more serious, and I did get a job at Calvert. And I start coaching down as a varsity football coach for Coach Franks. Karen and I get married in 2000 the following spring. Everything just seems to be going so well. I marry into the family. Their mom and dad are looking at me and are like, "Wow, you've done so much for your family. You've put your head down. You're working so hard. You don't have any expenses, but you haven't been able to finish school. Well, now we're looking that we need to invest in you because you're our future son-in-law. We got to invest in you, and so we're going to help you get through school. We're going to pay for school, so you have to worry about that." And that was just a huge blessing. So I go to school, finish off school while I'm teaching in a grant program here at Calvert High School, coaching Calvert High School. We won a state championship in 2000. We get married in 2000, changed my name as I talked about earlier. Everything is just on a whole nother level. And I mean, I've never imagined this. Everybody's doing well, and I move into a situation where I'm coaching here. I going to get my education. I end up moving to a job at University of Maryland in 2002. I'm now a football coach at University of Maryland, a strength coach at University of Maryland. And in 2004, the whole thing, and we have a house in Prince Frederick, a townhouse. I mean, the whole thing just starts to fall apart, And I've been told through my counseling and things like that I've got like this ability, like a lot of private investigators would have, whatever, where you can read people very well. Mm-hmm. You can read body language, you can read their, the aura they're presenting, and you get a sense. And I had a sense, and had a sense for a long time. And now I'm a Marine. Now I've conquered the issues in our family, struggles. I'm a football coach. I'm a young man. I've married, at that time, the best woman in my life, a great friend of mine. There's no way this marriage can fail. I watched a marriage fail. There's no way. I have not done anything close to what my father did in this relationship. How could this thing be failing? What is wrong? And through asking what was wrong and pressing to figure out what was wrong and searching and yearning for the loves that I needed and the love language that fed my spirit, my wife at the time was not able to articulate it, or I wasn't able to hear it well enough. And the more I asked without understanding, the more distance I felt existed between us, the harder I pushed for like resolution, and the farther she went away. To the point that in 2004, I moved out that summer, lived at my office at University of Maryland, and literally from 7 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, coached, breathed University of Maryland football coaching, went to counseling in Minneapolis with a wonderful counselor, and just went to repairing myself and growing and ultimately trying to win my marriage back.
Coach, what I'm hearing from you is you started out somewhat early in life with a low. It went up a little bit with Mr. Tibbs, and then went on the downswing, and then was on an uptick with the marriage, which later went on a downswing. Mm-hmm. What I'm envisioning is if you were to graph this out, you got a bunch of highs and a bunch of lows. You're kind of all over the scale. Thinking back on this, is that pretty accurate to the way things were?
I think so. I think, though, at the end of it all, though, there was maybe a small modulation or change in the atmosphere or the climate of my life when I was able to start coaching with Mr. Piles back when I was 16, right. But nothing significant than that moment that we decided to move on at 22 and focus our energy on working in a family unit that was actually productive.
Coach, I mispronounced. I said Mr. Tibbs, Mr. Piles,
Yeah.
but would you be available to stay on for another episode to continue this to the end? And Coach, I just think you have such a great story of overcoming that. Let's get to that part. Can you stick around for that?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Thank you, Coach. Contact us at ron@thecooperculture.com or marty@thecooperculture.com if you would like to get more information, or if you would like to discuss a strategic approach to how to help someone who needs encouragement to overcome their current life challenge. We're here to work with you, to help you and those within your circle of influence to overcome life obstacles. Marty and I have produced digital courses on relationships, interviewing skills, and overcoming financial challenges in dating and marriages that you can find by clicking on the store in the introductory page of this podcast series. We hope you will find these resources useful in your life journey. We look forward to establishing a dialogue with you, as our heart's desire is to establish a meaningful relationship with others. Let's all lead from and with the heart to show others we genuinely care.